your turn. Go on up. You can request one of the instruments and be the first up there. You gotta go. Well, you've been up. Yeah. We'll wait till someone else is up. Okay, so who hasn't gotten a chance to go up there?
I'll take
Okay, someone needs to go drum it up. I'll drum it.
I know.
Jared, would you like to play Chick-fil-A is like super backed up.
Oh my gosh.
People are getting a little angry. Okay? Shout it.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, and. Stands or on the ground, or let's just chat about what you've experienced. You can hang out there. As long as I can sit back. I can see people. Yes, we do. It sounds terrible. But like, it's like aggressive white noise, which I feel like is not white noise enough. Anyway, so that's an absolutely fair place to sit. Spent a good amount of my adult life sitting with those kids. So, what did you experience? through this process. Aaron?
So like with the solo guitar, like I was freaking out a little bit, but it was really cool to just like experiment with the guitar and just figure out the notes that I could make, and then having fun like making it like do the slide.
Yeah, because once you had it, I was like, oh, here, look at this. Right? Okay. What was your experience? Yeah.
Once we finally got into it as a group, I really felt like it was a jam session, like, which I really enjoyed. I kind of like transferred some of the things that we learned from like the reading about like informal learning, where it's like there does need to be a little bit of formal learning to like facilitate everything, but at the end of the day, like, you know, we can be independent.
Okay. So what was your experience? Patty?
I was kind of nervous to get on like the amped ones because if it like you mess up, it's like louder and more noticeable. But also like we were all so into like so focused on what we were doing, it was kind of like we could keep up with everyone else, but it wasn't like we were hearing that specifically. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I was probably the one who was listening the most to individuals. Because I was trying to float around such a, if I need to, at the very beginning too. Once you have it, and the nice thing about distortion, you can barely hear a mistake from the right note, so who cares? Okay? So that kind of safety and being there, and even though it's in the instrument. Other things you experienced? Yeah?
Since we got to like switch instruments several times, it's interesting, like even though we were doing like for the most part the same chords, it's interesting to hear the like I guess the different tones on each instrument and like kind of finding which one I like more and stuff like that.
And which one do you like the most?
I think I like acoustic better.
Okay. Did you have similar experiences shipping things you're like, well, I like this instrument better? And what was your favorite instrument? So acoustic too? Okay, cool. Anyone was anyone surprised by what their favorite instrument ended up being? Holly, what was yours?
Same.
Really? Okay. So and you thought you were gonna be more of an electric guitar person? Yeah. Okay.
Or even a bass person.
Even a bass person? Okay. What did it feel like to have experiences on multiple instruments, aside from getting a chance to kind of figure out which timbre you liked? As a learner, what did it feel like to do that? Yeah.
I appreciated learning it in this class setting because I wasn't afraid to mess up or just do anything wonky, because I feel like I've just gotten used to playing around with the instruments with you guys and not caring anymore what happens, which is great. So
Put that on the course evals, by the way. End of the semester course evals, that should be on there. So it helps. So the atmosphere that was set up in here already, and that I probably am close enough to how the atmosphere is to not have rocked it, right? Now I did rock a little bit about a different setup. We already had instruments, right? And I had a different way of teaching, but it was probably close enough that there's a safety here. So you felt like you didn't have to worry about making mistakes. So I guess it felt liberating to feel like you can make mistakes. It's weird that you don't get to feel like you can make mistakes in school.
because we're so often in like a performance setting, or like even in practice settings, like if we're like having a lesson with our professor, like they want us to do things correctly.
Non-solos kind of stick out like a sore thumb.
How was it facilitated? Like, what was my job throughout? And how did my job change?
You encouraged us to make mistakes, and then you're like, yo, you beat now.
Okay, so lots of chances. So I transferred a lot of who was in charge. Each time I gave up one more activity of mine until the last part I was just kind of playing bass, which was pretty awesome. And just there's a support. Okay, what else did I do? Like, how did it start? Can you remember back to how this started?
You used to just watch first.
It happened before that though, right? That was whenever I was like, watch what I was doing, right? Yeah.
Well, you asked us if we remember doing power chords.
Yeah, I did, and I knew you did, but I wanted to see how much. It's been a little while since you did. In fact, there was a text last night. I was like, "You know power chords?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Sweet." So I wanted to see where you're at, and based on where you are at, F is an easy power chord, just because I also noticed that almost everyone went to F. So we started with F, because your hands went to F, and I wasn't going to fight that. It was a silly thing for me to fight, right? We got up to C, which is where I needed you to be, right? And I listened, and I did a little bit of correcting at the very beginning, but could you hear what I was saying to anyone else? No, it's just going up like, oh, no, try this. to make sure you got it. Then you're right, then I asked a question. Right? I demonstrated something and I asked a question so that you could get a chance to see what I was doing without you having to do it. And then you had a good idea like, oh, this is what I'm about to do, because you're intuitive and you know how learning works. Right? And so at that point, I didn't have to teach you a whole lot. All I really had to do was look around and see like, oh, here's when someone's having a hard time. Oh, slide one fret down, or move one string closer. And I could do little diagnostic kind of stuff, right, to help you make sure you were doing it. Right? And then slowly letting go more and more. Now, this wasn't a song that existed before. We were actually going to do like a 12-bar blues. And based on where you were with F, I was like, oh, no, I'm going to try something different. This is actually way more fun. It was more like a jam session. This is 12-bar blues that are not often in jam sessions unless you're at blues jam sessions or jazz jam sessions. This worked really, really well in happenstance. I had prepared for other stuff, but because I prepared for other stuff, I was able to turn it when I needed to. That is how teaching is 100%. You need to prepare for everything in the event that nothing happens right. Okay? Or the really cool stuff happens. So these things that we've experienced have been kind of rooted in, and we're going to come back to playing it again. Is that okay? Because it was too fun to not play some more. Maybe we'll add one more chord. And the A minor power chord. Anyway, so if you can take a look up this way. You might need to turn, you might need to come closer. A couple things that this is based off of are two kind of approaches to music making. All rooted around this one person. You probably, in your reading, heard this person's name, Lucy Green. Yes? Yeah? So this is Lucy Green. Lucy Green is now an emeritus professor, which means she's retired but still working a lot. Probably too much. She does lots of research, and she started actually looking at gender and identity in music. She was kind of a sociological researcher. And then she had this group called the Paul Heyman Foundation come up to her and say, hey, would you like to research rock bands? And we'll give you money to do this. And she said yes, because that seems really interesting, and I'd like to have my research funded. Don't we all? And so she came up with a lot of interesting stuff, and her idea of informal music learning led to musical futures, which is a thing that happens primarily overseas, specifically in the UK, but is also all around the world. And it's rooted completely in Lucy Green's work. And I'll show you a little bit about what it is. Another thing that's happened here in the States is a group called Little Kids Rock. Little Kids Rock is primarily an advocacy group. They will give you instruments if you go to their trainings. So that's useful to know if you need to build your instruments. They also have some interesting kind of trainings. Their stuff is rooted in a kind of English language learning philosophy that's a little bit out of connection with contemporary research. And so you have to know that going into it. So let me show you a little bit about these. It's a little bit of talking about that for you. So these are the principles. You probably read about these in your reading. And what did you read?
It's about informal learning.
Oh yeah, who wrote it?
Check.
You could check, because you all have like portfolios, right? Where you put those? That's how you get your phones up. Search your portfolio. You know these things. Come on. So tell me about what you read, and I can connect it to this. Ruth Wright. Did anyone search to see where Ruth Wright's at? Can you guess what I'm going to ask you to do right now? Yeah. When you read someone, you should find out where they're at, because that informs how you should kind of read their work. She works with a lot of
Yeah. Wait, no, she's at John Wright.
Western.
She's now at Western. She used to be at the University of Toronto, I believe. And when she wrote that, she probably was at the University of Toronto. So she's at Western University, so Western Ontario University. There are lots of great music teachers there. There's a really great Kodai approach school there. So if you're ending up, after you leave here, wanting to get more training and or to do graduate work, that's also a really good school to know. And you will know that Ruth Wright was there. And so if you interview there and you interview with Ruth Wright, you can say, hey, I read one of your articles, and I'm really interested, I'd love to talk to you more about informal learning. Because the purpose of all this stuff is not to just regurgitate it to us. I want you to use it. Okay? And so some of the things that Lucy Green came up with that was probably in your Ruth Wright reading was the idea of these principles of informal learning. So number one, students learn music in which they choose and then what they identify with. Technically what we did today was not informal learning from that first category, right? I made the choice. Hopefully you identified a little bit with it, but it'd be hard to do that kind of jam without being in smaller groups to make it more identifiable indoors. 2, students learn by listening and copying recordings. Well, we didn't really copy recordings, but we did a lot of listening. So we can count that as a half point of informal learning. Okay? Students play and learn alongside friends. I think we get a full point for that one. So at 1.5 points. Okay, cool. 4 point, holistic learning. Everything's packed together. So there's improvising, listening, arranging, learning techniques all crammed together. What do I get on that one? Is that a full point or is it okay, full point, cool. So 2.5 points. And then finally integrating, listening, performing, composing, and improvising. So it's all happening at once, and did you integrate a whole bunch of different things? Cool, so 3.5 points, not too shabby. Okay? No, but no one's going to grade you that way, but it's useful to think about this. Some people will say, oh, it's informal learning because the kids are playing electric basses. Does that fit anywhere on that list? Then it ain't informal learning. Informal learning is a specific thing that we have identified in research literature, and if you want to draw on it, you should use all of it. And some days you're going to make choices, and some days maybe there's all 5 are in play. And sometimes maybe 3 are in play because that's what's needed that day, or 2. Another approach, which is Little Kids Rock, is based on this, again, this idea of what English language learning could be. And they root it in the idea, it starts in improvisation, and then composition, and we always start in those spaces. And then it's about playing around with comfort zone. The affective filter is what they call it. So whenever I said, I need someone to come up here and volunteer for something, and I'm not going to tell you what, I was messing with your affective filter. Because I immediately sensed you into being in intense mode. Okay? I also want to show you, like, don't do that. Okay? I could have gone up to like, hey, Grace, would you play guitar with me? And that'd be a different story. She could have said no, but you could have also said yes, and I would talk. It would have been a big issue. If I asked someone to identify, and kudos to you, right? Because you fought through your affective filter enough to come and play, and then at that point, kind of relief, right? Your affective filter comes into play anytime you come up with something that is really outside of your box, okay? And you can either bust through it, you can slow down to still go through it, or you can avoid it. Avoiding is the end of learning. Okay? So think about it. If you take a 150, were there ever times where your affective filter went up and you avoided it? Did you lose a chance? I know you, maybe you took a freshman during that time and you were learning who you are as learners. We all make mistakes. The next thing is student-centered. It's about getting the students to lead. Did you see some of that here? Yeah, I try to get you to lead everything. I don't want to be in charge anymore. Your job as a teacher, hopefully, is to make yourself irrelevant. If the kids don't need you anymore, you've done a really good job. Or a really bad job. It's one or the other. Approximation. Did this sound exactly like a jam session that anyone else would have made? No, we approximated a jam session. It was okay if it wasn't exactly right. We were going for approximation. So if we played Sweet Home Alabama, it wouldn't have to sound exactly like Sweet Home Alabama. If we were just close enough, it's probably good. Then we'll get better. And finally, scaffolding. How does the teacher help build some structures and then pull them away? So you may have seen early on, I was a lot more in control, right? And then I asked a lot more questions, and then slowly I took away things, and I backed off, and I pulled away the scaffolding, because good scaffolding goes away. Sometimes people think, when do you leave the scaffolding? No, like, if that was the truth, then the Statue of Liberty would be covered by scaffolding. So you should look at pictures of the Statue of Liberty getting built. Scaffolding going up. Okay. So these two things of musical futures based in informal learning and Little Kids Rock's modern band is what you'll come up with. These are things that are available in the field. So if you see these things, maybe you should go just take a look at them, and you should be ever critical, always critical. Always thinking how great this is and how maybe problematic this is, because everything is both great most times and problematic. Okay? So that you know what you can pull and what you can draw. Any questions about these two approaches? Yeah, Holly.
Is this like based in part by the Suzuki method?
It is not at all. The person who came up with this says that it looks like it's connecting, but it's its own thing. Here's the issue. Anyone who comes up with a new teaching method on their own researching it generally is remaking a lot of stuff that they may not have known that they were doing. None of us have a whole lot of new ideas on that stuff unless we've gone out and researched it and like dug through it, thought really carefully. And that's okay. You're going to be recreating things that have existed in the field. You're going to do this really awesome lesson, and then you're going to go to a conference, and you're going to see someone present on that lesson. And you're like, did they have cameras in my classroom? And you just realize that everyone has good ideas, and that's a job, right? So yeah, this has some similarities to Suzuki. It also has some similarities to orphan down approaches. Shall we play a little bit to lead us out? Pick an instrument you want. We're still in need of a drummer and a soloist. Oh, here, may I share just a really quick thing for looking at it, working with electric instruments? May I borrow this real quick? The electric guitar. This electric guitar has pickups. These are pickups. By the way, does anyone have an iPhone on it real quick? Can you pull up like a music app?
Like a metronome?
No, like music, playing music.
Oh, yeah.
We have music app. So pickups are magnets.
Yeah.
They sense the string vibration and then they translate that into electric sound. I think the first thing that's on here. What's really cool about this though is isn't that awesome?
That's scary.
Okay, because it's the same kind of thing. It's still electromagnetic vibrations that they're picking up off of that. So if you're ever in need of like showing someone something and you have a guitar on, just it's gonna sound bad. But if you need it real quick. Okay. And whenever you ask someone to put an instrument down like this, have them turn the volume off. Because then it won't make any sound and make like terrible sounds except for that amp back there. That is just dirty sounding right now. Okay. Charge, man. How do you want to start? You also, hey, you can pick any rhythm you want. If you want long strums, that's cool. If you know full chords, that's cool. I'll put them all up. You can do full chords, but it has to be in that same pattern. Sound good? If we may or may not have a second to add A, we'll try for a second without A. Okay? So I'll put all the strings up. There are the chords that we're playing. See what they got there? So they're playing solo F fret and A fret. And you could use this one too, because this is not T, There you go. Okay. Listen to that drummer.
Oh God. I think we all saw how the drummer did there.
How many of you gotta get this down off?
5, 6, 7, 8.
You have to then play.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try again. We'll all come in together, okay? Just work on this, okay? I'll take care of this until you got it, okay? So count us all again.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Thank
further up on the bottom string. You know, it's weird they say up and it's like down. Isn't that weird? So it's the 5th fret on the lowest string. There you go. You'll also notice it has a fret marker on it. So you're going to. So the chords are this now. But we can swing it. Thank you all so much for inviting me in. It's been fun. I miss you all a lot. Come by, see me in Burris. We have offices right next to each other. Yeah. So that's cool. I have teams.
So you just gotta take a wall.
You got to take a little more. If you can help put things back, including the stuff that's up here, if you have time, I would appreciate it.
Thanks so much,
Do you want to plug first?
You can have turn off this. Yeah, turn off and unplugged. I bought 500 picks for $20.
Nice.
If you want to pick out one. I don't, you know,
My
because
whole family does it, and it's the most disgusting thing. In like weird script cursive.
I feel like you need one.
Oh, I don't even know.
What do you mean you don't even play? You have been playing for the last hours. You can play pick on bass. Did you get my feedback?
Yes, it did. And I think, I didn't know that it was supposed to be something on your resume.
Always, yeah. That's usually the way it comes. You're not the only one, so this is my fun time, like helping people. Sounds great.
like to make it sound like
One
something more
half, you
important.
get the other.
Sounds great, thank you. 1, 2, 3. I was happy you made your way onto the drum set.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Because like, I don't
Grace, Maddie, you have to go sing.
Oh.
Now.
Oh my god, are we actually?
To the Hating Gate guy.
Oh.
I think it's a thing that's happening.
I'm down.
Is that happening?
Oh my god. Thank you all, see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
See you on Thursday. Haha. Have a great day.
Nonetheless, I'm happy that you made your way.
Thank you.